Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Global Summit. Pedro, thank you so much for the introduction. It's an absolute pleasure to see everybody here today. It's also good to put a jacket on, which has to be the first time in almost a year. And thanks so much to Meta for her top tips earlier of sitting up straight, and posture is so important. I definitely tended to a hunchback over the last 7 or 8 months. We have a great panel for you today. We have 2 industry experts. We have Ross from Haxton of Glimmer, and we also have Annette Taylor-Anderson to talk to you from a creative perspective as to how she is using digital technologies in her field to explore new markets and build a new business. But just before we do that, a very quick intro about myself. As Pedro introduced me, I'm very, very happy and very proud to be the FESPA Textile Ambassador. Textiles is a huge growth marketplace and offers incredible opportunities, as does the whole of the interior decor sector, whether that's hard surfaces or soft surfaces. In the picture here, you'll see this is, as a designer, one of my own collections from about 5 or 6 years ago, actually, and in true OCD style. It's also here in the background. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt to click the next slide. And we are going to talk about digital decoration and how you may get on board if you're looking for new opportunities and new marketplaces, of which the decor sector offers incredible opportunities. Okay, so the world decor marketplace is huge. It's absolutely vast. The figures you see there, 737 billion, is the retail value, but it's absolutely huge. Smithers Research forecasts that the entire marketplace is going to grow approximately 5% annually, moving up towards 2023. But the most important keynote there for you is that inkjet is the fastest growing process, increasing by 13.8% again, just in the next 2 years. There is huge growth available in this market sector. So just before we move forward, I'll give you a quick insight that shows you the scale of the interior decor sector. Now that probably shows quite small on your screens. Apologies if it does, and I'll just run through there. So just in that product group, you've got bathroom textiles, home accessories, flooring, lighting, kitchen and dining textiles, woods, laminates, tiles, rugs, carpets, drapes, beds, textiles, furniture. I mean, they are just absolutely immense. And the great thing is that we now have a digital technology that can literally custom print onto any of those surfaces. I mean, really, no surface is now safe from digital disruption. We can print onto anything. And as such, that offers the marketplace incredible opportunities. It's also worth noting here the green and the ochre figures, where you will see drapes, bed textiles and furniture being the predominantly huge market sectors. But as you see, in a market worth 700 billion, there is plenty of room for new entrepreneurial activities here. It's also worth noting the size of the marketplaces. So you've got digital wall coverings predicted by 2020 to be 2.9 billion. That's just digital printing in the wallpaper market space, but that is predicted to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 21.1%, moving out to 7.5 billion, literally in the next 4 years. That's huge. And from the digital textile perspective, last year figures, and they are slightly reduced last year's figures because, of course, we had a crisis. So they think that knocked about 250 million off the growth figures, but it will catch up quick. It's currently 2.2 billion, moving to 8.8 billion by 2027. And again, a CAGR of 19.1%. And that statistic is from Allied Market Research. So what's driving change? Fashion is driving change. We all want something eclectic, and we all want something very fast. Our homes are becoming an extension of our inner selves. And it also becomes aspirational, doesn't it, to have the latest, highest tech in your home and to make your interior totally customized and personalized for yourself. Lifestyle branding is becoming a huge marketplace, whether that is for the retail brands, whether that's for hospitality brands, or whether that's just the lifestyle of a person in the residential domestic sector, very much wanting to have their own unique look Sustainability is a huge topic, and we could talk for at least 24 hours on that subject, but please don't ignore it. Choosing sustainable technologies, choosing sustainable substrates, whether they're textiles or hard surfaces, is becoming more and more important. And the other thing driving change, of course, is global affluence. It's the rise in the population moving up, I think, in the next couple of years to 9 billion, which is quite a statistic. I remember looking back, and when I was born, the world population was something like 3 billion. So it really is quite interesting to look back and see how quickly and how fast we're expanding. And of course, the other driver is urbanization. 55% of the world's population now live in urban environments, which drives the decor sector for huge growth. Okay, the next slide should be loading. Now, this is an pie chart too, because it actually shows you where most of the sales are made, and they are Asia Pacific and rising in Asia Pacific, and of course the European marketplace too, which is also where all the waste is sat. So again, that's another huge issue for sustainability moving forward. Moving on to the next slide. When we start to talk about digitally printing and moving into a disruptive process away from a marketplace that's already established, it's really key that we all recognise that we have to meet existing market expectations. And as the technology has evolved over the last 5-10 years, all of the technologies actually do that. In fact, they go beyond. They are actually becoming more durable than the original printed matter, regardless of how that was printed. So durability is very important. Sustainability, equally important. The use of sustainable technology is becoming more and more a driver for the future. And also, as transparency grows in that area too, your clients are going to ask how this is printed. They're going to ask which inkset was used. They're going to ask for the ZDHC clarifications, the GOTS, the blue sign. All of those things are becoming incredibly important and need to be part of the recipe of any successful print company, I believe, moving forward. Product specifications, you have to watch out for light fastness, wash fastness, wet rub, dry rub. Martindale, abrasion, in the domestic marketplace, that's 30,000. That's a rub of 30,000 times. That's kind of how it works, really. For contract, 90,000. And hard surface abrasion, 50,000. You really have to look into your own specific marketplace, wherever that is across the globe, because these specifications do change. Disruptive technologies. Wow, we have so much coming forward, don't we? In wall coverings, everything's becoming much more textural, and you'll hear from EFI later about UV printing and the use of gels to build texture. Of course, you can also do that with latex, and you see incredible results with the Demens machines. So lots and lots of innovations going on here in wall coverings, whether that is at a low pace or a high speed. The same for textiles and the same for hard surfaces. Moving on to the next slide, we've got new materials, lots and lots of eco textiles coming through. Again, very important. And I do encourage you to start sourcing those now and finding your key partners, and also checking their credibility and their certification, so you build a strong database. New circular bases, recycled polyester, anything has to look, it's designed for a circular economy in a circular format. And also new biomaterials, very important. New polyesters, new cellulose-based fabrics that actually perform like polyesters. There's so much going on in this fast marketplace in order to fulfill the needs as they now explode. So for new business, we're seeing a massive explosion in micro designer brands such as Annette, a huge rise in e-com. I mean, that's just kicked up a gear in 10 years growth in the last year due to the COVID crisis, and it's not going to go backwards. Lifestyle branding, supply chain management, and a huge growth, as we all know, in print on demand, because it's sustainable and it reduces the need for stock. So very quickly, just going to flick through some slides here because I always talk too much. Here you can see how the creativity of bespoke digital printing on textiles or hard surfaces, and how the marketplaces are exploding. Here you see beautifully drawn, incredibly creative murals being used for retail and on a mass scale there. That's not bespoke, that's produced for marketplace. Incredible innovations in using wide format as well. And this is where there's this huge crossover really from the signage industry too, because these machines are absolutely incredible, printing out to 3 meters or 5 meters for these huge stretch ceilings, which are being used more and more in hospitality and resident retail interiors, which I'm sure Ross will perhaps touch on later. And then just a few more slides. I'll just quickly flick through these now so that I don't talk too much. Here you can see a huge wide image printed on the dust. Again, for a gallery and a creative, all of these things weren't necessarily possible at small scale before. Bathrooms, furniture, laminates, the list goes on and on and on. Ambience, room ambience is just incredible inventive opportunities. And here in the last slide in this set, you see the innovative use of light boxes. This is in the Villa Lance setup, which was produced by Pongs. But again, you just see the incredible creativity in our sector now pushing through into the market and exploring and offering incredible opportunities to our marketplace. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'd very much like to now bring on our first expert and our first designer. That is Ross Haxton, who represents Glimmer. Ross, over to you.
Thanks very much for the introduction, Debbie. Hello, I'm Ross Haxton from Glimmer. One of my colleagues, Tom Hawkins, was just speaking a little bit earlier about what Glimmer do. But for those of you who weren't listening to that talk, we're a full-service brand consultancy specializing in all stages of a brand's life cycle, from creative to implementation. And today I'll show 2 recent case studies to highlight how we develop brand concepts for retail. So I'll start by mentioning some top-line trends regarding the evolving relationship between brands and their customers. So over the last year, we've seen huge changes to our lifestyles, but a big part of that is the unparalleled growth of online sales. And omni-channel retailers and businesses have been shifting to serve online demand in a way that they have never done before. And they've been servicing new audiences, older customers and people in rural communities, for example, has really put increased demands on things like their logistics and supply requirements in terms of delivery and click and collect. And there's been a significant increase in app downloads and use. So for retailers and the dialogue that they have with customers, there's been huge transformation in terms of customers driving change in retail. And as Debbie just mentioned, awareness of things like sustainability and the climate crisis are pushing brands to really change the way in which they're working, but also communicate to their customers with things like their brand purpose statements. Also, the use in marketing of social influences or influencers in terms of appealing to very specific customer groups is something that's on the rise. And the act of shopping is being completely redefined. So how, when and why we shop, and us having constant brand connection in the always on world is really changing the way in which brands and retail is developing. One of the projects that I'm going to talk to you about is Rive Gauche. It's a Russian retail chain. They specialize in perfumery and cosmetics. And the project that we worked on with them was really to analyze their brand positioning strategy, develop that into brand identity guidelines, and develop a full retail store concept for them. So as part of that concept, like most of the brands that we work with, we do this strategic exercise at the beginning where we're analyzing the current market, the consumer, trends that are changing for that particular client. And from that, we'll be looking at things like the price positioning, the assortment positioning, and then analyzing key statements that the brand can take forward in their communications going forward. In addition to that, we'll come up with things like strap lines for the brand, hooks that will be memorable for customers that will not only work in the online presence and in their communications and marketing, but also within the store environment as well. As part of the bridge between that strategic exercise and the creative work that we do, we often work with creative coordinates, some key 2 or 3 brand statements, and build a whole story around those to then develop the experience and appearance of the brand and use that as a brief for our designers moving forward. In this project, we worked with the brand identity in terms of developing a new logo, typeface style and identity symbol, and combined that with the descriptor in their local language. But we also then developed a color palette which would be used in all of the print applications and online presence, but also within the physical environment as well. So then with most projects that we do a lot of benchmarking. So for the exterior store environment, for example, we would look at the facade and treatments for signage and presentation of product in the windows, but also things like digital applications and creating big statement pieces which will attract customers as they're going past the store. From that, we generally move into the planning of the zones of the store and really looking at the customer journey and how best to transition customers from one key product group to the next. And that then leads into store planning of furniture and key elements such as signage and digital displays throughout the environment to make a cohesive experience for the customer. Lighting is a really key part of the design through creating really strong visual statements in the ceiling. We also wanted to focus very specifically on product displays with very specific focused lighting. So that's a whole area which is quite complex, but really important to the overall look and feel of the store. In addition to that, we work with merchandisers to look at the product density on the shelving and the different product displays. And we design speciality zones such as the hair zone in this store, which had a distinct look and feel, and material selections for that environment are critical. So here are some examples of the materials that we selected. Most of them have to be incredibly durable, but as Debbie was talking about earlier, in terms of having different material finishes which can either be printed onto or having replaceable finishes, and having increasingly now materials that will have a high degree of hygiene. These are all considerations that we're looking at within the store environment. Also, things like furniture selection are really important in terms of ergonomics and also just the look and feel within the environment. And then generally what we do is we visualize the full store for the client to be able to sign off the whole concept with everything working in a cohesive way throughout the environment. And now I finish here with a few shots of the finished store, just so you can see how close to the visualizations the finished final product was when it was completed. So then I'm going to move very quickly to the second project that I'm going to highlight, which was an omni-channel retail brand which specialized in home furnishings. So in terms of our deliverables for that project, they were very similar to the previous project. So we did the strategic exercise at the beginning, and in this project we were trying to create a really strong connection between the online presence and the physical store environment. So a big part of that was the design studio, which really appealed to professional designers who would be selecting products from this store, both online and having a support platform where they could have an engaged conversation with the Ascona team to discuss the products that they were selling. So rather like the other project, we then moved into store planning, and then quite quickly got into coming up with mood boards and image boards to represent the key aspects of the environment. So from architectural inspiration through to areas like the specific threshold area where products on promotion and display would be highlighted. And then we'd be into looking at graphic display and also digital display within the environment, and communication components that would help the customer not only get more information about the product, but they could take some of those elements away and remind themselves when they go home to consider what they finally want to choose and order online. Within the store, we also look at the signage hierarchy and communications. And again, the furniture is very important for the display of the product. And then we would do general overviews of the interiors, showing all the elements working together. So from the shop front facade, we also work a lot still with sketch principles, just showing quick ideas to the client. A really good way of communicating very quickly. But from that, we then work it into visualizations that show all of the elements working together, from lighting, finishes, and the products displayed themselves. So in conclusion to all of that, what we then wanted to do is show how the online brand would then evolve into the future. So we mapped that in stages as to how that would develop for the brand as customers started to interact with it. So in conclusion, retail brands clearly are having to have a complete mindset change at the moment in terms of responding to a digital first strategy. And also that reflects very strongly within the design of the retail environment in the physical sense, and how innovation and creativity are still at the heart of that. That, of course, will develop as things move forward. But as I see it, there's still a very strong role for the physical customer experience, but it, of course, then has to connect very strongly with the online retail brand as well. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the talks this afternoon. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you so much, Ross. Really, really interesting and incredible to see how much specification goes into even the smallest projects. Brilliant. It's my pleasure now to introduce Annette Taylor-Anderson from ATA Designs, who is both a creative and an exploding new designer, forging away through the contracts and hospitality market. Annette, over to you. I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Oh, hello. My name is Annette Taylor-Anderson. My company is ATA Designs. I design wall coverings, murals and fabrics for the hospitality, contract market, commercial, retail, healthcare, and residential market. I've won a couple of awards, including one that I'm very proud of that I won last year for the FESPA Awards. I won bronze for the print interiors section. I studied at textile design, and surface decoration at university, and it was there that I learned all about wallpapers. And this is my very, very first wallpaper design that I created by hand. Okay. I've attended or exhibited at many trade shows, including ICFF in New York, Maison et Objet in Paris, and a couple of London shows. And ones that you can find me at shows today is the Independent Hotel Show and the Dementia Show, which I currently exhibit at. So I've got a lot of slides, that's why I'm kind of like whizzing through them right now. I've also appeared in many magazines, including the ones that you see here, in both the UK and overseas market. So how do I design? When I design, I use a combination of types of work that I do. So I either use hand drawings, photographs, or I draw directly onto the computer using Photoshop, Illustrator. I also like to experiment quite a lot. So I'm an artist as well. So I like to put a lot of designs into the mix and then see what I can come out with. So I use a lot of layers and textures in a lot of my work. When I design for a project, I print on wallpapers or fabrics. So I use two types of wallpapers. One of them I use is a 10-meter roll, which I use for the residential market and sometimes for hospitality, depending on where it's going. And the other wallpaper I use is a wide print wallpaper, which I love very much. It's got a really nice textured surface to it. It's scratch proof and it's suitable for the hospital and healthcare environment. So I can use this wallpaper for both the hospitality and commercial market as well. And this is the one that I use the most for large projects. And I can also print as wide as 500 centimeters in width. So the benefits for me using digital print wallpaper or digitally printing is that I can print as wide as I want. I can design as big as I want, which I really love. And I can also use as many colors. So there's no limits to what I can actually do. So some of the projects that I've worked on, I've worked quite a lot with HP, and one of them I was working with them at Textile in Germany, and I was one of, I think, about 6 designers had chosen to work with them on their products, and we're all given a special area to work with, and mine was the bar and lounge area. So you can see my wallpapers, my designs onto flooring, tabletops. The bar area was backlit, so the design was on there. Also, there was also onto fabrics, which we called, in the ceiling, the design was on fabric, which we called a soup area, and also onto furniture as well. This is another design that I was commissioned to do for the independent hotel. I created a design for their business theatre, and I think the design was about 22 meters long. And then I was invited to Moldova for a talk, and I created this design for them for their stand. And I'm whizzing through these now because of timing. Yeah, this is a bar project that I did recently. This one, it's for the Northgate bar and restaurant. They asked me to produce a design onto fabrics for their seatings. And then I created a mural for part of the dining area. And then into another part of the project, I designed this wallpaper into the restaurant area, which they call the dining room. So this design, particular design, I used for another project called the Jones Family Kitchen. And again, they had a garden area, so I used the same. They liked this design, which is why I used it again. What's that? And then whizzing through, this is for a hotel project for they had like a wedding breakout area, so I designed this for them. And these are some more projects that I'm whizzing through. This particular project, I actually worked with a company, the Lexington Hotel in America, and I actually had this design printed out in the States. I do that sometimes. When I'm working abroad, I try and find a printer to abroad so that to save carbon footprint. So this is a theatre design that I did recently last year. Okay, I'm going to whiz through these now because there's, okay. And then this is a project that I actually went to Brazil for. And again, the wallpaper was printed in Brazil, and I also worked with printing onto tiles with them as well. Right, up until now, I've started working with care home projects. This is the Dora Rose Care Centre. It's a new build. And they asked me to create a mural design. Oh, my slide's not working. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. Yeah, they asked me to create a design of. They wanted to bring the outside in, so they asked me to create a nature wall. And what I did was I'd taken loads of pictures of the area, and I created this nature wall, which you'll see in a minute. Yeah, so it was all of the whole room was to do about, was all to do about well-being. Oh yeah, okay, sorry about this. Yeah, so sometimes when I work with clients, they want me to bring the outside in, so I visit the area, take lots of pictures, and then I start to work with the design. Oh, there we go. So that's the design for the nature area that we did. And then they also asked me to create a map. I actually work with a mapping company, so I've got special rates with them. So I can, any projects that approach me for a map, then I can get the area of wherever the project is and recolor it according to the color scheme of the project. And here I added places of interest into the map, which they liked very much. And then this project is called, it's for another care home called Tower View Care. The building is very, very tired, and the inside is, for me, it was quite depressing when I left the meeting, to be honest. But the walls were magnolia, and they were looking for a bright new wall. So I had a couple of rooms to actually design with them. And when I visited the place, they had pictures of Elvis Presley on the wall with some music notes. So I thought, well, why not take that what they've already started and expand it into a really nice design? And that's what I did with this wall. I had to ask the ages of the residents there, and they were from the age of 1930 upwards. So I did some research, got some music images from that era, and this is what I produced. And the nice thing about that project actually is one of the residents who has dementia, he kept staring at Doris Day, and he just kept saying, Doris Day, Doris Day. And what it was, he was remembering the time of when, in his era, he was a fan of Doris Day. So he was very, very happy to see that there was Doris Day on the wall, even though he tried to pick her off the wall. This is another part of the project where they asked for a map. So I did that for that area. Okay, I'm going to wrap up now because my time's run out. Yeah, I just wanted to say that working digitally is fantastic. I can, it's a revolution for me. I can do what I want with it. This picture here that you see on screen is a bar that I did for another care home, and I actually designed it life size. So I had to take the measurements of the bar, the bottles, the pumps, everything, and it's now sitting in one of their rooms in this care home where they have visitors. I'm going to wrap up now anyway because my time's run out. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you.
That was fantastic, Annette. Thank you so much. And isn't it a joy just to hear all of the story? It's an absolute joy to hear all of the stories behind each and every one of your creations. And that's a lovely story about the Little Old Man and Doris Day. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I have the pleasure to hand over to Toma Ohovari. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, Toma, from EFI, who is going to give us an insight into the technology suite that EFI offers for the industry and which applications, etc., are applicable. Thank you so much. Toma, over to you. Look forward to hearing your presentation.
Hi everyone, hello Debbie, and to the audience, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity in hosting me here. It was so interesting to see Annette and Ross showcases, and it really adhered to what we're going to talk about the digital transformation that EFI carries out in the last decade or more. So my name is Tomer Ohavi. I'm the EFI product manager for the roll-to-roll, the flexible material, based in Israel, and I thank you for that. So within EFI, we have so many wide range of portfolio that support us to actually complete our mission. That it's inspiring the world with particular imagery and on any material. So when people ask me, what can you print on? So basically the answer is anything. Start from rigid materials into textile, wood, ceramics, and definitely also flexible media. And we're going to go through a journey talking about the technology that EFI brings and how we support this transaction from analog to digital and the benefit. So on the left side, you can see that EFI Cataprint is one of our product line on the ceramic tiles. We have the EFI Reggiani coming out of Italy, focusing on the textile solutions. The cubic line for the wood tiling, and the Viewtech, EFI Viewtech for the display graphics. We want to touch base further. So what basically drives this change, and what brings also EFI to be part of this great transformation? Basically three main pillars, as we can divide them: the economical, the environmental, and the creative. And the whole world is definitely looking for the cost effective, right? We want to do more with less. We want to be efficient. Times is an urgent time to market. If Annette has an idea today and she comes to a print shop and you want to get it out within 48 hours, so the ability to take an idea, make it into creative, and bring it within 2 days into reality, this is something that can be done only with digital printing, definitely more and more. I think Debbie also mentioned how sustainability is so important, and also here we can reduce the materials which are what we can say mimic leather, for example, or wood, and by digital printing we can do multi-layer applications like similar to wood, or definitely similar to leather, and by that reduce the use of natural materials. That also means that we're using less waste, energy, and pollution, and definitely help the environment in the digital transformation. And I think the third pillar is being creative, right? Nothing have to be repeatable again. You can do short runs. The first image, the second, and the third one can be different. You can localize them, personalize them, and definitely give your creativity much more areas, as we can see on the presentation. Within the portfolio, as I mentioned, we have the ceramic tiles, the textile, the wood product line, and the Viewtech product line. Let's go through them a little bit and explore. On the Creta ceramic tiles, definitely can be done on ceramics, on panels for the interior home decorations. One of the great solutions that enables printing on rigid tiles. When we look on the Reggiani Textile, there's infinite solutions and different type of media, and doing those runs much more cost effective with a great color variancy, and definitely can bring great benefits into the market, and you can do much more designs within the short runs and keep being sustainable. Talking about the cubic, again, this is some pictures from our offices in Spain, making the ability to print also on wood. So the cubic line is definitely made some additional transformation in these areas of wood tiles. Again, this is another example about how we can use water-based or UV inks on the wood applications, and definitely part of the cubic portfolio. If we talk about the ViewTech line, this is, for example, our hybrid ViewTech H5, enabled to print rigid materials and also use multi-layer applications, which look fantastic. You can look and feel is very authentic, like a real leather or real designs that you can really touch in your hand and feel something alive come into, and not only a flat images. Our soft signage solution, definitely, we saw many examples at Ross and Annette, how soft signage becomes a significant player in the market, either, interior, backdrops, anything that you can imagine, even outdoor application. The outdoor durability is something definitely very important, and within the soft signage, the outdoor durability is for many, many years. And with this water basing, we can achieve, of course, a much more sustainable solution. And probably last but not least, one of my babies in the portfolio, one of the roll-to-roll product lines that can basically print on any flexible material. And with the roll-to-roll, we're able to do large variety of applications. Definitely, if you can see some pictures like doors magnets, if you want to change your door look every once in a while. Murals and offices, we see much more indoor and offices coming and definitely want to have much more colorful. And again, with the flexible material, you can print on clear film with white and color and other colors, and definitely bring it into much more decorative areas. Wall covering, I think also Debbie mentioned, is a growing market, and the LED technology can bring significant value with the color consistency, the ability to have many different type of media, either thin or more thick media, and definitely can support much more variety of applications. And again, the ability that you can run couple of 1,000 meters, and you don't have to run on an analog couple of 1,000 or 10,000, make it much more accessible. If you want to have only one hotel or 2 rooms, it's the same scalability, and on the roll-to-roll digital market, you can do definitely both, and they're still going to be very cost effective. If you want to hear more, definitely EFI Technology, we have almost 40 printers in our portfolio, and next week we're also hosting another event. So here are some details if you want to hear more on our Engage event starting next week for the next 2 weeks. And thank you for the opportunity, and happy to the TFI is being part of the driven technology into the decor market. Thank you to the audience.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Really good presentation. Debbie, we've got a couple of questions which I wanted to pose to the guys. Frankie DeMeyer has set up a question. Is there a platform where we can find designers who want to design for companies?
Do you mean there are lots of online platforms now where you can purchase designs direct and purchase them for any various different volumes, as well as kind of run as a licensing program. But no, there is no one source. We have a small archive on our own platform, Textile, but there is no central source for freelance interior designers. No, not at all. I think people have now had to kind of cross-pollinate in the shows that they go to. So quite often you'll see people going to Maison or going to Premier Vision, and they'll find designers there. Or, I'm trying to think of what the next one that's over in Amsterdam. They'll try and pick up designers there and make those connections, because design for interiors or fashion, the designers now they move between both marketplaces. I'm sure Annette will agree with me there. So no, I'm afraid there isn't one resource. It still have to build your contacts, do your networking, and visit the shows. Definitely.
Definitely. A question for Annette. Annette from Hugh Bing Quay in Holland. Basic. So we in the industry always have to fight with the price per square meter. If you're supplying designs, artworks, in fact, then the price per square meter should be secondary, it seems to me. But the extra margins or price should be a compensation for the artwork. How do you buy the artwork on price, or does the supplier also get a free ride on the margins you can earn?
The way I work is I treat each project separately. So I don't have really a set price. I do have one per square meter, but it depends on the project and their budget. So that's how I actually work with them. That's how I work with them. So apart from, obviously, if it's the 10-meter roll, then obviously that is a price, because it's a roll that they're actually buying. But when it comes to the large scale designs on the the large printing wallpaper, then I work per project rather than giving them a direct per square meter kind of thing. Because the other thing I don't want to do is scare them off as well. So if I can work within their budget, then I will try and do that. That's how I work.
Very good. Just a generic question as well. What's your experience with printing on glass, and also maybe for Tomer as well, just to cover that question?
Is that for me? Sorry.
Or for Tomer, a question on printing on glass.
Yeah, so definitely, part of EFI, we're able to print on rigid material, and one of them is glass, either with one of our hybrid solutions, and definitely with the UV, it can be done. So our technologies support that, and we have many customers doing those either for beds and shower enclosures, for example. Another example, definitely for offices and home decor and so on and so forth. So, and I think again, the ability of having the uniqueness to print short runs, you can personalize, different holes to different segments, of course.
A generic question regarding the clothing industry as well. What has been digital's impact on the fashion industry?
I think digital's making an incredible impact on the fashion industry. And I also think it's a necessary, needed impact right now. I think that's also been accelerated by COVID. If you just look at, take Inditex is probably the most pioneering brand worldwide who have pushed digital. They repeat and recycle their products every 2 weeks. They are making a huge impact. And they've grown their business on the back of that flexibility, without question, being able to scale good core lines quickly, and also been able to remain innovative and fresh in store, has built brand loyalty, and digital has most definitely helped build their brand. worldwide. No problem, no question.
Annette, are we going to be seeing a fashion line from you very soon?
You never know, could do. Something in the future.
It's a great idea.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it for the questions from the audience so far. So Debbie, if you want to continue.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. We'll go over to Ross first of all. Ross, could you give us an idea of what the timing for your projects would be? How long does it take to do that level of specification generally?
The two projects that I showed you probably were in a 3-month period. So from start to finish, in terms of being briefed at the beginning, going through the strategic development process, coming up with conceptual designs, visualizing them, and then developing the final guideline specifications. Generally, it's done within ideally a 12-week period. It can take longer or less, and it just really depends on what budget the client has to spend on the project.
That's fast, isn't it? That's a lot of work in 12
It
weeks.
is.
And
It's pretty rapid.
And also, it is, yeah, sounds like stress. Also, you touched on the synergy between e-com and bricks and mortar retail. Do you think that is going to continue to grow and grow and grow? Because retail has switched over to almost 50% for some brands, especially from the fashion industry, who are losing bricks and mortar, as have to move to sell online, and it's just going to continue to grow. Do you see that happening, creating more work and that more collaboration?
Yeah, I definitely see the two, we call it phygital, things working together increasingly in the future. For a lot of people, they're concerned that will mean that we don't have high streets filled with shops anymore, or shopping centres filled with a variety of different retailers. I don't really see that personally. I think in the future, people still want experiences. They still want to be able to look and feel and touch products. They still want to have dialogue with staff and have some kind of level of interaction. But the way in which store design will change in the future will respect a lot of the changes that we've seen over the last year. Is just happening much quicker than we ever anticipated it happening. So, of course, people will continue to shop online a great deal more than they ever did, because we've all got used to it now, and it's easy and it's convenient. But we still want to go out there and meet people and try products and get advice from staff. So the way in which store design will change in the future will respect those changes, but we will still have physical stores to visit.
Thank you. Great answer. Toma, can I ask you then, I kind of touched on in my presentation and said, no surface is safe from digital disruption these days. And actually, they're all becoming more safe in that they're all becoming antiviral too. But could you say what type of analog application can digital not cover? Can you think of something that digital really at the moment just simply cannot do?
So it's a great question, honestly. I think with an EFI, we're touching base on every possible application, but honestly speaking, probably the digital would take some time to cover on a higher volume. For example, on the LVT, luxury vinyl tiles, definitely there are digital solutions that we are already working and have global customers. But if you compare to the analog capacity, that can run probably 10 times more per machine, per equipment. So there's still way to the digital to grow and bring it to the volume and mass production. So I would say per applications, we're already there. But definitely going to the mass production, we should, there's a long way to go and do that.
And speaking of mass production then, on the industrial scale, do you think EFI may plan to launch single pass technology with the VUTEC range in the future?
Yeah, so in our corrugated market, for example, with the Nozomi line, there already is a single pass technology, which is phenomenon. colors are so dense, and there's also whiting printing. So on the corrugated line, this is a great example actually how digital already overtake the analog, both in the application side and also volume-wise capacity. And yeah, probably, and if you look on our roadmap, definitely single pass will come also to the flexible textile materials, or roll-to-roll platforms, and so on and so forth. So the industry probably will go there, and it already is. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much for your answer. Last question, I think, Mike, because we've run 10 minutes over and we need to probably hop over to the Q&As. One more last question for Toma then. Sorry?
Debbie, I've got another question from the audience. What we're going to do is we're just going to
go for it then.
We're going to go straight, because the Q&A session, because of the timings, the Q&A session is going to lock us out. So it's a question from a Graham Richardson Locke. He said, when Décor clients are printing the same design across multiple surfaces, requiring the use of different print methods, should we use the smallest gamut ICC profile to achieve common color appearance?
Who's the question for? Toma?
Maybe Toma in general, if you could talk about that in terms of should printers use the smallest gamut ICC profile if they're going to be printing across
from my
applications?
side, I'd say definitely no, because when you're moving across different substrates from polyesters to cottons, etc., you need a really big gamut, and especially with high quality print. So no, I wouldn't ever try to restrict the color space. We always have to work with the biggest possible color space, most definitely. Toma?
Yeah, I can answer that. Definitely the answer is use the widest color gamut as possible. We do not want to narrow down. And actually, what we see at TFI, customers are more demanding on the more challenges areas, skin tones. People want to see perfection. And even if you're printing outdoor, even billboard, what used to be, I would say, medium to low quality, people do not accept it. When you go to see a building wrap, even if it's like 20 meters from you, you want to see something high quality, so the audience do not compromise. So also color gamut is very important. I will add one more note that today, the digital technology do use mainly CMYK colors because it's still allowed to reach wider gamut. We saw in the past a lot of spot colors, orange, violet, red, to extend the color gamut. But today's technology, the ink, the pigments, with 4 colors, you can reach outstanding color shading in wide color gamut. This is also the way EFI targeting 4 colors, small droplets, and wider color gamut.
Yeah, I'd agree, Toma. I think it'd be incredible innovations in the use of just CMYK to move across a wide color space, and we can definitely get much more color out of those just a 4 ink set than we could 3 or 4 years ago. Most definitely. Thank you, Mike. Do you have any more questions for us?
No, my mic is off now.
Okay, fine. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all for all of the effort you put into your presentations. I know it takes hours and hours and hours of work. So thank you so much. And Toma, thank you so much for joining us and sharing the EFI journey from textiles for every surface. No surface is safe. It's fabulous. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for this third and last session today. It was a very interesting, a very animated session. Thank you, Davey, Annette, Tomer, and Ross for your time and presentations and talkings.